If you're not yet familiar with Justin Moore, he's a dynamic sponsorship coach and the visionary founder of Creator Wizard, where he empowers creators to turn their passion into profits through strategic brand partnerships. With his latest book, Sponsor Magnet, Justin distills years of experience and insights into actionable strategies for securing deals that actually make creators money. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and the only Justin Moore. Justin, man, thank you for joining us.
Let's go. Let's get hype in the house here. You know what, Jim? First of all, I want to share an anecdote, okay? Because I was doing a sponsored live stream not too long ago, and I had the exact same thing happen that happened to you. The internet went out, my microphone wasn't working. I had a guest. This is what made it terrible. I had a guest on the live stream. It was sponsored, and so my screen was like frozen like this, and then my guest, bless my guest's heart, he just kept rolling with it. He took the episode over. You know what I did? I got in my car and I drove to Starbucks, and I was like, let me leech off their Wi-Fi. Let me try and get back on this live stream. I get back on the live stream. I prop my phone up like on the windshield to like try to get it, so I can like do the live stream. It works for about 10 minutes, and then the phone overheats because it was sitting in the sun.
Oh God, no.
and it shuts off. So literally, I've been there, man. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's all good, man. That's a great story,
yeah.
And it's like the great thing about this book, and we're gonna get into it, and I want to set the table with it, but like, just this story that you just shared with us right now, a lot of creators have had similar experiences where that happens and they immediately freak out. And one of the great things I like about this book, Justin, is you go ahead and you start talking about some failures that you've had because you have this huge track record, this huge amount of experience. And you basically distill it, like I talked about in the intro, you distill it into a book. Like, hey, you want to know why you should be doing this, this, and this? Because let me tell you a story about something we did 5 years ago that took me 5 years to come up with this process. And to me, that says value, right? It doesn't matter where you're at in your creator journey. Like, you just took all of your lifelong experiences, except when you were in a hardcore band. You took all your lifelong experiences and distilled that into a book that someone can just in one sitting sit down and read that book and learn that information. Why did you decide to do that and to just say, look here, everybody, here you go?
Okay, this is going to sound super cheesy, but I think, all of us here, we're a little older, right? We're not we're not young chickens over here. I am approaching 40. And, if I look back on the last 15 years of my career with my wife, April, our first YouTube channel was in 2009. So we've been doing this a really long time. We've been full-time creators, my wife for 12 years, myself for 10 years. And so we've been blessed to have so much success, a lot of failure too, but a lot of success. And we've learned so many things the hard way, dude. Like, I can't even begin to tell you, of the hundreds of sponsorships that we've done over the years, we've literally made every mistake in the book. From allowing the brand to use our content for TV ads without any compensation, to agreeing to do stuff for free product, to lots of work for free product, to agreeing to things contractually that we shouldn't have, to letting the brand railroad us when, they just decided that, hey, we don't like what you do, you need to reshoot it. And us like not knowing what to do and not knowing how to push back. And, but then we've also had a ton of amazing experiences, right? And so this book was colored by a lot of our personal experience, having done so many deals, but also the fact that, I ran an influencer marketing agency for about 7 years, and I was kind of on the other side of it, where it's now no longer just a brand working with my wife and I, but I'm in the boardroom with this big brand, this agency, and they said, hey, we want to spend $1 million across 200 creators. Tell us what our strategy should be. Right. And so it was like a very, very different conversation. And so I really tried, over the last several years, as I've been educating creators around the process of sponsorship strategy, I really tried to distill basically everything I know about brand partnerships into this book. Because, 2 reasons. One, as cheesy as this sounds, legacy I kind of feel like I've published hundreds of YouTube videos, tons of newsletters, articles, social media posts, but like still somehow a book being like, here's everything that I know in this tidy little format. Somehow that still feels like the best way to kind of bestow and pass on what I know. And so that's really what I felt drawn to do it for. And then also, I just feel like there is so many more creators, and this is probably something that I'd be interested in your guys' perspective on, is like a lot of creators still don't think sponsorships are for them. Yeah. They think, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm not big enough, or I don't want a sponsor to like ruin my creative integrity. Like I just don't want to do that. And I have struggled over the years connecting with people like that who are skeptical about its value. And so I really felt like the book would help, me reach more people with this message.
Well, I know Chris and I have had a lot of conversations, and Chris, I mean, first of all, you can't read this book just once, because you got to go back. You got to be dog-earing it, underlining, highlighting, tweeting, whatever, blue sky and stuff out. But what did this book make you think, Chris, after you read it? Because I know how you felt about sponsorship stuff in the past.
Yeah, I think, Jim, that to your point, it is as much a reference guide going forward, right? So you're not going to be able, you can read it cover to cover, as you should, and it's easy to do that. I don't mean it's an easy read. I think it's so like, as you go through it, I should be doing this. I should be, yes. And then you get to the end and it feels like it's a lot, right? But I think, for me, I need reference points, like the contractual stuff you start talking about, like make sure you're doing, and we're not going to, be lawyers here or talk lawyer speak here, but there is some really important things that you need to do and have in your contract that you put in there. Like, and here's why, and here's a mistake we made because we didn't put this in a contract, and here's why you should be doing it. The other thing I learned too was it's worth paying a lawyer to put together this contract for you at least once, but leave the stuff open so that you can use, like, it's, the only things that are going to change are deliverables, pricing and some other certain things. But there's a lot of this stuff that's never going to change, and paying a lawyer and investing in that is super important for creators to have, on the front end, so they can protect themselves.
And I want to ask you this, Justin, because I know for me, this was kind of like mind blowing in a way, because I know, Chris, how many times you've heard this as we've been part of the Amazon influencer program over the years, is burn your media kit. Like, oh, okay. And I definitely have always, I agree with you on the pricing thing that you talked about. Like, don't set prices. I thought that's brilliant, because that's the other thing in these circles, right? We hear so many times like, oh, well, Justin is charging $100, so you got to charge at least $100. Well, I'm not Justin, and Justin isn't us. But so, I mean, this stuff you're laying out there, Justin, in this book is just amazing to me.
I appreciate it, dude. And on the note about why it's important to kind of burn the media kit, maybe, you know what, for sake of it, let's just douse it in lighter fluid. Let's put it in the bonfire outside, and let's just light it ablaze and manically dance around it. Okay, I want this to be a therapeutic thing for you. I want this to be hardcore
of you. Yes,
yes. It has to be like a moment. Like, I am never doing this again. I'm never saying to a brand, hey, here's how, the brand says, hey, how much do you charge for one integrated Amazon live stream? Or how much do you charge for a podcast ad read? And you'd be like, here's my media kit, $200. Or go to this place on my website and just book it. You could just do the Stripe link or my link in bio or whatever. And the example I always give is that, like, imagine a brand, starts kicking the tires on Dealcasters Live, right? And they, it's a brand that they feel, wow, this show is the perfect fit for us, and we would absolutely love to be their title sponsor for the entire year. And you know what our budget is? It's $50K. And we asked for their media kit, and the very top package that Jim and Chris are saying is $2K. I don't know your numbers are. I'm just saying $5K, whatever the number is, right? And they say, oh, and to top it all off, the stuff that you're offering to do for them is not interesting to them. They're like, well, we don't really We don't really want any of those things. In fact, you know what they wanted? They wanted to fly Chris and Jim out to do some live hosting for an event that they're doing. But you know what? It doesn't really seem like they're interested in that. So I guess we shouldn't ask them about that. Right. And so however, had you been, on a phone call with them, you actually asked like, hey, let's jump on a call. Would love to learn more about your objectives, gather a bunch of data, and then you put together a proposal, a custom bespoke proposal that speaks exactly to the pain points that they just told you about on the phone call. And you ask them about their budget range. This is very different than asking them for their budget, by the way, and we can get into that. This is just a game changer, man. This idea of charging different brands different amounts feels scary to people. Yeah. Somehow it feels like I'm not allowed to do that. Like, of course you're allowed to do that. You are providing different brands, different levels of value, and you should be charging accordingly.
We'll get right back to the show, but first I wanted to tell you about Social Media News Live. Jeff C. and his amazing guests will keep you up to date on what's happening in this entire changing world of social media. They talk with industry experts and innovators and creators about the latest social media news, tips, and tactics, and they broadcast live, so you can ask the questions that matter most to you and your business. Jim and I love this show, and we know that you will too. Head over to socialmedianewslive.com. Hey, tell them Dealcasters sent you. Now back to the show. I love it. Does this play into what you call your ARC framework?
Exactly. Yeah. So the ARC framework is basically talking about the 3 different campaign goal types that a brand will have when they want to collaborate with you. So A is awareness, where the primary reason. So this is, again, take a step back. This is when you say, hey, brand, what does success look like for you? What would a win look like if we were to collaborate? And they're going to say one of these 3 things or multiple of these things. The A in the ARC framework is awareness. So they're saying, hey, we were previously only available in the UK, our products. Now we're available in the US. Or we've got this big seasonal promotion that we want to spread the word about. That's an awareness focused campaign. The R is repurposing. So the primary reason they say, hey, Chris and Jim, we love your live show. We really would love to get some content for our own Amazon storefront or our own podcast or our own YouTube channel. Can you make some content for us? It doesn't even need to go live on your channels, right? So that's a repurposing. So they're trying to take the content that you generate and use it in other ways, right? Maybe even for paid advertising. And then the C in the ARC framework is conversion. And this is where a lot of Amazon influencers in particular get fixated. And I understand because a lot of Amazon brands are obsessed with conversions. They said, how many sales can you generate? How much ship revenue did you generate? For in this product category, like all they care about is the numbers. And so people think, well, I guess this is what all brands care about. And I've been doing this a really long time. I've worked across hundreds, literally thousands of brands at this point between my wife and I and the agency that I ran. And I can tell you that is just not the case. Like brands, and actually, to even clarify here, a lot of brands think what they care about is conversion until you have a conversation with them. And you say, actually, ask me why. Can you tell me a little bit more about why that's the case? Or can you tell me a little bit more about why you think we should do it this way? And then they'll kind of stammer and realize, well, I guess I just thought that's the kind of the way you do it. And then now it's your turn as the expert, as someone who really understands these platforms, to educate them and say, actually, well, I'm glad you said that because here has been my experience. I actually think we should do this instead, not that, right? And maybe no one ever said that to them.
Yeah.
Right. And so this ARC framework is really important because depending on their goal, your pricing has to change.
Do you think it's because creators are just so afraid to create what they think might be friction in that kind of conversation? Like, I don't want this one to get away, right? I really want to work with this brand. I've been doing the right things, like like Justin's telling me to do, and I'm doing the research, and I finally have them on the line. I'm just afraid that this fish is going to get away. So you just sort of comply with certain things because you want to make it to the end of the line. Like when you work with people to do this, how do you get them past that mindset and work through what you're talking about?
The undertone to that fear, Chris, is they think that there's a line of 100 other influencers behind them who's willing to take the deal. if they don't say yes. If they push back at all, they're fearful that the brand is just going to be like, well, okay, sorry, take it or leave it, because I've got 100 other creators that are willing to do this for free or next to nothing. And that's a real insidious mindset. It's very counterproductive to your own confidence to be able to educate a brand around this process. My advice for a creator who feels that way, and look, I empathize. I was you. Honestly, I was you like, a decade ago. So I can totally empathize with that. However, this is why I think it's so critical that you are supplementing your inbound deal flow, meaning brands coming to you, with you actually reaching out to brands yourself, outbound pitching. Because what you're describing almost always happens when it's a brand coming to you. They say, here's the campaign, here's the talking points, here's how much we're going to pay you, take it or leave it. And this is where creators feel very reluctant to pass up the deal or say no or whatever, because I'm so lucky this brand reached out to me, right? Like I can't say no, I can't push back in any way. Versus when you're the one in the driver's seat, you're the one reaching out, you're the one pitching this idea to a brand. Maybe they've never done live commerce before. Maybe they've never done this thing that you have expertise around. A lot of creators think, oh, every brand does live commerce. Every brand does influencer marketing. That could not be further from the case. There are so many brands who have literally never worked with a single creator. And so it may just take you reaching out and saying, hey, I think you could be telling your brand story in a really compelling way. If we were to partner, here's a couple ideas I have. Now it's a blank slate. Right. And I think you feel a lot more emboldened and a lot more empowered to advocate for yourself and understand your worth when you're in the driver's seat.
I love that. I think that, this book is not just tactical things. It is that there's plenty of, if you pre-order it, there's you get scripts. That's already helped me in approaching a brand that's their first thing was hey, we're going to give you free product in return for the following deliverables. And, it's always been, all right, here's my boilerplate return. Here are our terms, type of deal. And what usually happens is ghost, right? Like, oh, these guys have their act together. Like, we might not want to work with this person. But I love the fact that understanding your value, but like works into creating these compelling pitches. A lot of it's based in research, right? So like if Jim and I sat down when we started doing the show, Justin, and we were like, I really want to work with this company. I want to work with this company because what we're doing is remote production and podcasting. And so obviously we're working with, certain gear, but what we started doing was instead of going to these brands and saying, we have this show, we'd like to be able to do it, we started using their products. And we understood it. We started demonstrating. We started like becoming experts on their products. And when we did get in a conversation and we were in this wheel that we're going to talk about, one of the things that they said to us, Justin, was, listen, this is a great relationship for us because you guys already use our stuff. And when I heard that, I was like, you can't sit back and go, I want to do this because I want free stuff, or you want to do this just because you want money. Like you have to understand, like you're working with someone, like you're sitting in a conference room with them at a table, like research them on what brand campaigns they were running over spring. What were they doing over the summer? What makes them tick? Follow them on socials, start chiming in with them so that when you're in a conversation, they're not just brand X, brand Y. You're actually coming in saying, I can fulfill this problem that you have that I'm identifying and researching. How does someone even start being able to develop that kind of those kinds of techniques?
Well, first of all, I'm so thrilled to hear that you're already like absorbing so much from the book, especially the section on pitching. Because really at the end of the day, I very much consider myself an amateur sleuth. I don't know why, man. I just love clicking around on the internet and
don't make it creepy.
I'm not going to make it creepy, but I'm just saying, here's what I'm saying is that, brands leave a lot of breadcrumbs. They leave a lot of breadcrumbs on the internet. They are telling you it's not that difficult to ascertain what they care about. You can look at their press releases. You can look at what their VP of marketing is posting on LinkedIn. You can look at their blog. You can look at, campaigns they were running last year by scrolling back on their social media and seeing what they were posting last April. Oh, they're talking about the Mediterranean Diet Month. Oh, they're probably going to run that similar campaign again this year. It seems like pretty important to them. I should probably reach out and say, hey, are you running that campaign again this year? I'd love to support you, right? Pretty simple stuff. But again, it's showing that you're not just a random creator reaching out and being like, pay me with your hands out, which is what most people do. I have all these, followers, all these views and demographics. Please. Yeah, Mo, may I please, sir? May I have some more? Right? Like this is, again, I've been on the receiving end of those pitches for years and years and years. And I know what that feels like. Versus you get a email where the subject line is, hashtag, summer product, Acme Summer, whatever the brand is, like a campaign hashtag that they used last year. That's in the subject line. Campaign hashtag in 2025 ? They're probably going to open that email. Mm-hmm. That's a relevant campaign they ran last year. What is this? Who is this email from? Who's this person? First line of that email is not, hi, I'm Justin. Here's a link to my Amazon storefront. Here's a link to my YouTube, my podcast. I've got this many followers. They don't care about you. They don't know about you. You know what they care about? Themselves. They say, hey, here's what I think you care about. It seems like you were doing this. Are you going to be doing that again this year? This is an inference, right? Mm-hmm. This is an inference. I don't know if this is what you care about, but I think you do. I've researched it. Just by the very nature of doing that research differentiates you from other creators that are reaching out to them. And so this is what I call my rope pitching method, ROPE. So R is that relevancy that you're mentioning, Chris, right? It's relevant to them. O stands for organic, meaning that in your pitch, you're linking a piece of content that is relevant to the brand that shows that you have an organic affinity, that your audience has an affinity for their brand, their product. This is really critical because a lot of creators, look, the brand doesn't care about you. At the end of the day, they care about being able to access your audience, which is a big pool of prospective customers for them, right? And so your job is to illustrate that your audience is filled with all these people who are chomping at the bit to buy their product, right? And so it's not enough to just be like, I love your brand. I've used it for 3 years. That helps, but kind of that's table stakes. That's what everyone's saying, right? And so that's the O. And then the P is proof. So you can say, hey, here's how I've helped, Shure achieve results, or here's how I've helped, Ecamm Live achieve results, or whatever. And then the E is easy to execute. And this is where you're actually telling them exactly what you're proposing to do for them. I'm going to do 2 integrated Amazon live streams. I'm going to do it, put some podcast ad reads. I'm going to do 4 newsletter blasts. I can turn around the first post within 10 days. Are you free on Thursday at 10 a.m. to talk about this? You're actually pitching them something. So I know that this might feel a bit overwhelming if you have never done deals before, but I'm telling you, if you just keep your pitches in this very, very simple format where it's all about the brand and it's very, very little about you, good things will happen.
We're going to get right back to the show, but first I wanted to tell you about the game changer for your audio setup. Of course, it's the one and only Shure SM7B microphone. This iconic beauty is a go-to for top-notch podcasts. You've seen it on stream. It's the perfect microphone for any environment. You don't need a fancy studio. It's got built-in protection that handles background noise like a pro. Jim and I love ours, and you can level up your audio game today. Just check out the show notes for the links. Now, back to the show. I love that.
I think that's so important because I think, it's that whole thing of, when we were talking, Justin, you want to talk about yourself. You don't really care about me. It's kind of it's that Dale Carnegie principle. Talk about the company. Talk about what they are looking for, not about, this is what's in it for me. And I think that is such an important factor. And I love how you laid this out. I also think going back to the ARC principle, I think Chris and I have stayed away from brands that we want to know how much you sold, because part of it is really, we can't control that with what we do. We can build awareness, but it's like a lot of sales, right? When you talk about the difference between marketing and sales, I can bring them to you, but you got to close the deal. They're not giving us the power to close the deal. And so I think the way you kind of flip it of hey, don't worry so much about sales, but worry about how can I build awareness for these brands and their products is powerful.
On that note, I'm really glad you brought this up, Jim, because I have a section in the book where I talk about, actually, it's your job as a creator to tell the brand that their checkout process sucks. It's your job. You may never have thought that was your job. The brand says, hey, here's the link to drive everyone towards. Let's say it's on their website or some other e-commerce provider or whatever. And you visit that landing page and it's confusing. The copywriting is not very good on the page. The copy on the button or the call to action is not good. It's your job to tell them that. Constructively, obviously.
Right.
But it's your job to say, hey, I actually think that we should I could actually share a quick story about this. So I was doing a deal with a financial services company, and I was going to be doing some newsletter integrations for them. And the landing page that they sent me, it was confusing. I was like, it's not clear what the product does. I don't think my audience is really going to understand the value of this product. And I think it's an amazing product because I use it. Hey, brand, I would love to volunteer. I'm not contractually obligated to do this, but I would love to volunteer to create a video that would go on this landing page where I do a screen share and I show how I use the product. And what we're going to, on the top of the thing, it's a banner that says why Justin Moore loves the brand, right? And the 3 reasons. And I have the video here. And then the copy on the call to action button will be really clear. And the brand was floored. They were shocked that I was willing to do that, to go the extra mile.
So
but
smart.
Why wouldn't I? That's going to lead to more conversions. And then the brand's going to want to hire me again, right? So it's like these things that a lot of creators think is not their job. Hey, I'm not a copywriter. I'm not a user experience expert. Like, who am I to give them feedback on like how to make it better? Guess what? Learn it. You got to learn this stuff. It's actually your job.
Yeah, that is that is such killer advice with working really with any company, whether it's a brand or whatever. Is like you could very easily say, "Hey, your baby's ugly. Your website. This is whatever. You guys fix this." Or not say anything, right? Which is worse. But instead you were like, I don't want to put them back into work. I need to be a little more, comfortable pair of shoes if I'm going to be able to do more than this one and done approach. And you talk about this in the book is, creating these longer lasting relationships with these brands. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of creators, especially when they first start, they think, all right, well, I just knocked this one out. Now I'm here. Where's the next product? Where's the next brand? Who's the next thing? And then, they don't understand that it's not just about this one, right? It's about the future. So if you would just kind of talk about that and maybe some examples of how you were able to build that trust.
Dude, the analogy I give, it'd be like quitting your 9-to-5 job every month. You get a new job, right? You just did the whole interview process. You proved yourself internally. It's your first month on the job. And then you do great work for them. Right? Everything's going great. And then you hand in your notice. You're like, all right, see ya. And you never talk to them again. This is literally what you're doing as a creator when you just, you don't talk to the brand again. And then there's actually, this is a joke, but like, I understand the reason. I know the reason why most people don't do it, why most people don't reach back out to the brand again, because they're scared that it didn't go well. Mm-hmm. They're scared that if they say to the brand, hey, how'd it go? How many sales did I generate? Or how many clicks or leads did I drive or whatever? They're scared that the brand is going to say, actually 0. We hate you. We want our money back. You suck. Like, why? Like, like they're terrified that this is what the brand's going to say. And in almost 0 scenarios is a brand going to say that to you. And even if they do, that's data. That is data. Okay. So now I need to think, why is that? Mm-hmm. Why did I not drive any sales? You know what? I should probably do my own analysis, my own introspection. How can I improve? Is there a way in which I could have talked about the product better? Is there a way in which I could have improved the tracking mechanism? Is there a way that I should be doing amplification to drive, additional eyeballs on this, that I should be selling through to additional sponsors or to new sponsors in the future? Rather than getting salty or embarrassed, you got to treat that as a learning opportunity. So by the very nature, Nelson Mandela has this great quote where he's like, I never lose. I either win or learn. And I think nice. that mindset is critical going into asking these questions like, hey, sponsor, how'd it go? I want to know. I'm invested in this. I want to know. And I could share a quick anecdote here. I was talking with Nathan Barry, who's the CEO of Kit, which is a $40 million a year email marketing software. It's a big company, right? And I talked to him about this very subject. I said, this is why I think a lot of creators don't work with brands in a recurrent nature very often. And he said, this is a really good point, Justin, because if we hired a creator to talk about Kit, which is, formerly ConvertKit, and they didn't drive the number of, signups, new Kit accounts that we were hoping that they would relative to how much we paid them. If they came back to us with what I call a post-campaign report, this is something I talk about in the book, and they said, hey, we got a bunch of feedback from our audience. These were like people who were DMing us on social or replying to the email when the newsletter went out. And they said, hey, yeah, I've heard of ConvertKit or I've heard of Kit, but I'm on MailChimp. I've been on it for 10 years. I've got a zillion tags in there and sequences and automations. It just seems like it would be such a pain in the butt to migrate. I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to do it. If you were to give that feedback to the brand, Nathan said, man, if we knew that, then that would allow us to say to the creator, hey, we actually have a concierge migration team. It's free. Let's talk about that in the next integration, where we can re-educate the market around a service that we have that they may not have known about. And so something I talk about a lot is like, how do you proactively overcome objections? Proactively brainstorm. When I go live with this sponsorship, what is my audience going to say? Are they going to say it's too expensive, or I tried it a year ago and it sucked, or right. You're a consumer when you're looking on Amazon about ready to click something, you're thinking in your head, is this a good deal? Can I find this for cheaper somewhere else? Is it going to work for me? Let me read the reviews. Right. This is what people are doing when they hear about your sponsorship. So your job as a creator is to proactively overcome those.
We're going to get right back to the show, but first I wanted to introduce you to the amazing Cloudlifter CL1 from Cloud Microphones. This amazing little blue box boosts your dynamic podcast mic signal for pristine audio quality in just seconds. Jim and I love ours, and you can snag one of these CL1s or new Cloudlifter X's for yourself from the links in the show notes below. Elevate your audio content with the Cloudlifter. Now, back to the show. We're going to get right back to the show, but first I've got to share this genius tool with you. It's called the PlexiCam. You can say goodbye to awkward eye contact struggles on your live streams, your presentations, Zoom calls. This PlexiCam lets you maintain eye contact effortlessly by simply attaching to your monitor. It's compatible with webcams, phone, DSLRs, you name it. It's like having a personal eye contact assistant. Jim and I both love ours. So level up your eye contact today. Check out the links below. Now back to the show. Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they're looking at this, they think of it more of, straight up marketing, straight up, cost center sort of impressions and all of that. But this is very much about sales. This is very much about, not just selling yourself, but, I lived in sales for a number of years, and it's not just about writing a purchase order or, and here I am dating myself, boomer alert. It's not just about, that the relationships is the grease in the wheel, and doing that, what you're talking about is like, hey, I've identified something and here, and I want to help you, and here's how I'm going to be able to do it, and then read it back and go, hey, here's what happened on my end. What are you guys seeing? Like, you're a member of the team, and when they see that, and they see these other influencers that are just taking a check and not doing it, then your value goes from here to here, and it's incredible stuff.
Dude, so let's pull this thread just a bit more.
Please.
One of the other reasons why I wrote the book, candidly, is that, if you open up TikTok or you open up Twitter or X, the vast majority of the conversation around sponsorships is brands suck. They're trying to take advantage of the creator. They're trying to lowball them. They're trying to screw them. You have to defend, protect yourself whenever you go into the octagon, and negotiating with these brands. It's like Yelp, right? Like, people only go on there to talk crap. Like, exactly. If they're mad, they don't go on there to profess their love. Oh, I had this great sponsorship. It was amazing. The brand was awesome. People don't say that. And so if you're just a casual creator, you probably think sponsorships are terrifying. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, that sounds awful, right? And so a big part of why I wrote the book is to introduce this alternative perspective. Like, sponsorships are awesome. I can count on one hand the number of deals that truly were terrible and truly went south out of 1,000 plus that I've done, right? And I think this is, if you can transform, you mentioned, this, the visual I love to give is like, you're not like on either side of a table. It being like you're on the one side and the brand on the other side, and it's like this confrontational negotiation. You're on the same side of the table. Right. You're both looking at the whiteboard and you're being like, okay, here's where we're trying to get. Here's where we are. Here's where we're trying to get to. You're pointing. You're both pointing together. You're like, how can we both get to that outcome? This is the visual that you need to really hammer home when you're collaborating with brands, I think.
You just hit on it. You're problem solving, right? You're part of the team trying to solve the problem. How do we get more of this product into the hands of the consumer, as opposed to what's in it for me, what's in it for you? And I think, you talk about the sponsorships really is a win-win-win. And that is so important, right? There's no reason for anyone to be a loser, because if it's a bad product, you're both going to lose. If it's a good product, right? The company's going to do well. You're going to do well. Everyone's going to be happy. And I think that is another, that's a great point you bring about thinking about where you're sitting, right? It's not, we're at the negotiation table. Who's going to blink first? I think that's amazing.
I wanted to touch something because we jumped in, we jumped in like the 5 foot middle of the pool and swam into the deep end. I want to pull us over to the shallow end. You're gonna pull us out. Yeah, we're gonna. They call this a pattern interrupt.
Throw us a lifesaver, Chris.
Right. Okay. Let me pick the needle up on the record again. Boomer alert. All right. So. Right now, our chat's not exactly working on LinkedIn, but I have this comment from somebody named Jamar John Johnson. Thank you for watching, Jamar. He's got all kinds of great things to say, but he did say this: just signed another sponsor deal contract today. I need that book. So those that are listening and watching. Sponsor Magnet by Justin Moore is available for pre-order on his site at sponsormagnet.com. But also, you can go to Amazon and pre-order that as well in one format. This book is going to be out January 21st. Do I have that right?
It is.
Okay.
January 21st, and it's chock full of, not only is the book chock full of stuff, but I've got a huge list of bonuses that I cannot wait to unleash into the universe. Stuff that I've actually never offered outside of my like paid programs, actually. So hey, look, we got Jeff. I'm Jeff. Look at that.
Yeah.
we got
Jeff C says, "Howdy, boys."
I thought that was a caption. It's a comment you're pulling up.
Sorry, we'll make Jim.
I thought it was like a lower third.
We'll make
I thought it was like a lower third. It's funny. I'm going to be on Jeff's podcast. That's why I was like, that's awesome. So funny.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. Good. Yeah, Social Media News Live. Shout out to that as well. Jamar John Johnson says that apparently he's a speaker. Always be speaker. Go broke. Entrepreneur. So anyway, Jamar, thanks for joining us. Jeff C, thanks for joining us. So Justin, for those that are getting started, and we started talking about all kinds of stuff that are well into the negotiation thing, but I want to dial it back a little bit, because I think you talk about very early in the book, these are 9 mistakes that people go through. I'm not going to go through all 9. We'd be here all night. But the one that really got under my skin in a good way, because I think, listen, it's kind of like, when somebody that's,
I'm intrigued now,
faith-based and they go to church, like the best sermons are the ones that make you feel like I should be doing that. I should be, or whatever. And this guy, for me, I want to be able to read a book that isn't just softballs. I want to be able to get that kind of value. So you talked, one of the mistakes, I think it was the first few mistakes you said, is don't aimlessly create and define what you call a surprisingly transformative promise. And can you talk about maybe what exactly that means? Because it really pertains to what Jim and I do, because we felt like we really weren't attracting the right people because they didn't understand really what we were about. So we had to really kind of formulate what you talk about as your surprisingly transformative promise.
Yeah. So, STP, as I call it, not to be confused with the band, the amazing 90s band that Chris and I were talking about earlier, which I've totally seen live. They're amazing. I see this trap a lot, especially on social media platforms, where you kind of go where the algorithm goes. You say, "Oh, I'm going to make this piece of content, and it was a trending sound, and it went viral. So I guess I should be making more of that content." And so the algorithm says jump, and you kind of say how high, and you just kind of, float through. You have basically no focus on your platform, and so when a prospective brand or a prospective follower, frankly, lands on your profile and is trying to decide whether to follow you or not, or trying to decide whether to hire you or not, if it's a brand, it's like a very quick pass, because they can't really wrap their heads around what it is that you do. Right. And so the surprising transformative promise exercise is actually kind of laying out a statement for yourself that can double as a statement that you put in your social media bio or your about section on your website. My STP for my Business Creator Wizard is I teach you how to find and negotiate your dream sponsorship so you stop leaving thousands on the table. That's my STP.
Boom.
And so if we kind of deconstruct it there, the surprising part is, I call myself a sponsorship coach, right? Which, first of all, is pretty novel. I think a lot of people see that and they're like, what is it? What is a sponsorship coach? I actually don't know what that is. Is it a manager? No, I'm not a manager. Is it an agent? No, I'm not an agent. I don't take a cut from your deals. I teach you. I educate you. And you keep everything. So that's surprising, right? It's like, I guess this is interesting. I want to learn more about this guy and how he might be able to help me, right? Transformative in the STP is that I'm actually like, you're going to go from point A to point B if you follow me, right? I'm going to help you, go from here, no sponsors, to over here to lots of sponsors and making more money with sponsors. And the final is promise. It's like, I'm going to help you do it. Right? I'm going to teach you. I'm going to do it for you. It's not about me. It's not about my adventures on social media. It's about, hey, I'm going to help you do this thing and achieve this outcome. And so the reason that that's so useful from a brand perspective as well is that if I can click on someone's profile and I read that their STP, I instantly know whether this person's audience is the type of customers that I'm trying to reach. So the example I shared in the book, it was a creator that I was coaching named Olivia, and she was a petite fashion blogger, primarily on Instagram. And her bio previous to going through this SCP exercise was something like, the cutest and cutest everyday styles, petite fashion, something like that. Something very generic, indistinguishable from the 100,000 other influencers on Instagram, that have a bio like that. Once I coached her through the STP process, her bio transformed into helping you find petite outfits to look and feel your best, something like that. It was, just first of all, think about how much clearer that is. If I'm a brand, everyone in her audience. If I'm a petite clothing brand, I want to hire her. This is perfect. Like this is what works, because every brand has a mission and values behind their brand, ethos behind their brand as well. And if they know that is aligned with this creator, man, that goes such a long way. And so it's just such and again, if you're a follower and you're looking for petite fashion advice, I want to follow Olivia because I know exactly what she's going to help me do, versus it seeming very narcissistic. Oh, it's all about her and her outfits and all this stuff. And, so I think it's a really important process to kind of sit in that and think about what your own creator identity is, maybe without getting too existential. It's just an important process.
Yeah, it's very much about like saying, here's the solution that I provide, for whom that I select, and what's the outcome, right? And that is, again, it's like, it's not marketing 101, but like, if you can think like that, as opposed to like constantly trying to prove yourself and your subscribers and like, oh gosh, I got to make sure I have this and I have this up here and I have this. No one cares, folks. They just care. If you want, no brands care. They want for you to provide a solution for this problem that they have, and it's brilliant. Jim, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, Justin, I think what really, I think you're empowering the creator to think about is this is about building relationships. This is about how you actually are helping people as opposed to what's in it for me. And I think the problem with a lot of these young creators, right? I mean, you think about when you started as well, is we didn't have that experience, right? We're not really coming from the corporate world or things like this of where we understand negotiation and how things work. And you're really helping people put the processes in place that are going to help them get successful.
Man, look, I empathize with creators, especially ones that are coming up. Maybe they never even had a real job. Frankly, honestly, a lot of creators, they started creating content in school or something. Maybe their social media blew up and they were able to parlay that into a career. But they were kind of building the plane as we were flying it. Frankly, we were doing that. My wife and I were doing that we had no idea what we were doing. And so, I know I'm facetious with a lot of the kind of jokes and anecdotes that I share, but I totally empathize. It's hard. Like, a lot of us didn't go to school for this, to be a cold, hard negotiator and to learn how to like advocate for yourself, especially, frankly, and I don't know, maybe we're going to go somewhere deep here, especially if you grew up in a household where money was taboo to discuss, or it was, or is a scarce resource.
Yeah.
And you just didn't talk about money. And so the idea of like doing that for yourself as an adult can be treacherous. It can be kind of traumatic. I can't tell you how many creators I've talked to who I asked them, they joined my course or whatever. And I kind of had an initial conversation with them and they said, I've been getting sponsorship emails for 2 years, and I've deleted every single one of them because I'm terrified. I'm terrified of responding to these brands, of not knowing what to say. I had a childhood where my parent, we were dirt poor. Like, so this, I feel guilty, that I'm making this money. Like, there's a lot of head junk, I think, that can go into some of this stuff. And it's really important not to gloss over that, I think. And so again, one of the things I'm hoping that the book will help is just like giving you that confidence that you may not have had growing up.
Yeah, I think part of it too is delivering these very, like the scripts, the process, that, because a lot of times, like you said, there has never really been a roadmap for a lot of this stuff, like you're walking into a field and there's all kinds of weed. Nobody's gone through and mowed the lawn. You're kind of like, all right, I think I should be doing this. And you're just kind of throwing it over the fence and hoping it works. Like, you actually took this stuff and you created this framework, which I really want to talk about this sponsorship wheel. You love this graphic so much, I'm going to have to send it to you after the show. But for those of you
the colors, you made the colors look great. I don't even have that version of it. I'm like, dang, can you be my graphic designer, bro? Man,
I'll send you a contract after the show. But
make sure there's usage rights in there.
Okay, you got it. So for those that are just listening, this is Justin has what's called a sponsorship wheel, and this one got me. This one got me because it not only does it give you the steps, and he walks you through each one of the steps and why, but it's a wheel because you're not done after you've delivered the analysis to the brand. You're not done. Because what you've done is created a relationship, right? So by the time you get to done with your analysis, you're pitching that very same brand for another deal, another idea, more concepts. And I love this, Justin. Can you walk us through? And I'm gonna stop you on the one that got me. How about that? It's like a little fun game. I bet you know
a little
what it
teaser
is.
there. Okay, so so the sponsorship wheel is my 8-step methodology, essentially, to take a brand from the very beginning, basically pitching this opportunity. And by the way, so step 1 is pitch, but a lot of people think of a pitch as like something that you are reaching out and doing to a brand, right? You're actually reaching out and pitching them. But in reality, even if the brand reaches out to you, you still have to pitch them on why you're the best person for the job. because they probably reached out to 20 other creators at the same time, right? And they're looking to move forward with 5, but they reach out to 20 to see who's interested, what their rates are, and this type of thing, right? So they kind of have to Tetris the budget together. So you still have to kind of convince them that you're the right person to collaborate with. Step 2 is negotiate, right? This is where they're interested. They said, okay, what's it going to be? How much is going to how much is going to cost us? This type of thing. And then, as we talked about a bit earlier in the live stream, like you have to do this discovery process where you ask them questions. You have to understand what their objectives are so that you can put together a proposal that actually makes sense. Step 3 is contract, right? This is where, as you said, Chris, like we got to memorialize all of the deal points into something written where we're both signing on the dotted line here. And there's a heightened level of commitment and expectation beyond just like a handshake in an email thread or something. Step 5 is, step 4 is
okay,
concept.
Stop. This was me.
Okay.
This is what got me, man.
All right.
This is, you're talking right to me right now. This is like, when I got to this, I was like, dang it. This is what I needed. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this was a concept.
I'm glad to hear that. And I won't be like a mean third grade teacher where you forgot your homework.
Tough love.
So here's the tough love that I'm going to give to Chris and to everyone listening here who may have done this in the past. So step 4 is what I call concept. And so a lot of people skip over this step where the brand says, okay, sounds good. We shake hands on the rate. We sign the contract. Go ahead, do it. You're the creator. We trust you. Go ahead, go wild. And what you quickly realize, and this is what happened, again, the lessons that we learned over the years, is we said, okay, great, they trust us. And then we go into our little cave, we create the content, and we bring it back to them for them to review. And they say, this isn't what we had in mind at all. You need to completely redo this. And we were like, what are you talking about? I thought you trusted us, right? I thought you said you wanted it to be organic and authentic and, yada, yada, right? And so this is a game changer here, is basically realizing that even if the brand is not asking you for a concept, you have to give them one.
Yeah.
And you have to say, hey, here is how I am going to bring this to life. Here's 2 to 3 sentences at a minimum of like what I'm going to say, how I'm going to demonstrate this, and allow them to give you some feedback on that, to be able to say, hey, actually, that's a terrible idea. We want you to do something entirely different. That's great. That's totally fine. You know what that means is because I didn't do any work. All I did was write these paragraphs. And I'm really glad to know that you don't want to do this direction, because now this means I can, I save myself the time and the headache of us getting into this really contentious situation after I already created everything. Oh, what now? Are you going to pay me more? This type of thing. So the concept stage. So tell me why, Chris, why is this? Is this because you haven't been doing it, or you've been burned in the past, or what?
Well, it's twofold. It's like you said, you just get this glorious, hey guys, go crazy, do what you do, and then you deliver something based on, like, it's almost like if you're across this river and you see these smoke signals coming from across the way, and they're like, it says that they need water and pancakes. So you put together your water and pancakes, you put it on a raft, and you push it across the water. And then they gets over there and they're like, water and pancakes? That's not at all what I wanted. I don't know, but it got me in that. So from your example, it's very much the same. Like you said you wanted this. I thought this is what you wanted. No. And then you're in that conversation and you've wasted a lot of your time. And you may end up just scrapping it all together and you're having to do more. But the other thing was my question is, a lot of times we'll take that concept and really have it in the contractual thing. And I think what you're saying is not doing that, not having sort of the more of a baked in concept at that point. Maybe we're not even ready to have that conversation about the concept in step 3.
So in step 3, what I've oftentimes found is that there's this, as part of the concept stage, usually this is when what's called the creative brief gets finalized. So oftentimes the brand knows that they want to work with you, but they don't know the exact details of, what the talking points are going to be like and the exact messaging or the timing. There's still, it's kind of like, it's a moving target to some degree. And so it's ideal if a lot of that stuff is finalized like as soon as possible, right? So you can see it all up front and know whether this is a partnership you want to entertain or move forward with. But a lot of times it's not finalized. And so as long as you know the broad strokes of like roughly what they're trying to do with this promotion, signing the agreement with clauses in there saying that there's going to be there's going to be a creative brief that, is going to be finalized before, during the concept round and things like that. And again, this creative brief is coming from the brand. This is not something that you have to do. This is you asking them, hey, give me a one pager basically of like, these are the 3 to 4 most important things that you want me to get across in this integration, and the one call to action. What is the one thing we want our audience to do when we talk about this? And once you have that in hand, baking a concept into the contract can sometimes be a bit challenging because things change. You may have found this, like things change all the time. A new requirement comes up like, oh man, I'm sorry, we didn't know this before, but we got to do this instead. And this is different, and yeah, you may be a bit, annoyed by that, but that's just like part of doing business. I think things change. So you do have to be a bit flexible.
Awesome. Very helpful. And so, after concept, produce.
Yeah. So after concept. Yeah. So no, don't. No,
we don't.
No, you don't know how to do that. You want to know why? Because people go off script. They have an approved brief. They have an approved concept, and the brand says, yes, do it. And then the moment that the creator sits down to film, or the moment they sit down to create the thing, they read it back and they're like, actually, this is, I don't know. Now that I'm like saying it, it doesn't feel right. So I'm just going to do this other thing over here. This is better. And then they deliver it and the brand's like, what the heck? Like, this is not what we agreed to. Right. Or, there's this hilarious GIF. It's like one of my favorite GIFs where, there's a ceiling fan and instead of the blades spinning and rotating like this, the light bulbs are spinning on the ceiling fan like this, right? And it's a perfect analogy for like how sometimes people demonstrate products incorrectly. When they do sponsorships, they're like holding it the wrong way, or it's they're using it incorrectly, or it's like the way in which they're telling people to use it is like unsafe, and the legal team is going to freak out from the brand or something. These are all like really important. Here's this basic one. Pronouncing the name of the brand correctly. Oh my God. I can't tell you how many times when I ran the agency, man, we would get a content back. We would get, hey, the creator says, oh, I love your brand. I've been using it for 3 years. And then they mispronounce the name of the brand. I'm like, really? You love the brand? Really? Right? Yeah. So, this exact thing happens. You're like, oh, we know how to do produce. We know how to do it, dude. This is why you got this.
Yeah. Yeah, or asking them what's off limits, right? What should I not say? Who should I not mention? What should I not mention? I think is super important.
Critical, dude.
You talk about you were kind of like somebody looking at a script or an outline of what should be said or as a part of the deal. I think this plays a little bit into it. We're going to pause on the wheel. It plays, and I wanted to talk about this. Is that a lot of times creators, another bit of mind junk is they look at TikTok or they look at Instagram or they look at these places and they go, I don't want to be that person. They think that, this person looks like a shill, or they're doing something that is like, that's not me. Like, how can that be me? So you're in this conversation with a brand and you're coming up with these concepts and you have these outlines. And then when they go through it, it doesn't feel like you. How do you work with creators to have them continue their authenticity, right? Because that's for the trust with their existing, people that they have can be difficult when you're working with these brands, when they want you to maybe say some things in a certain way that you're not comfortable with.
We could go a lot of different directions with this question. The first place I want to go is understanding that sponsorships is a totally reasonable thing for you to introduce into your business to allow you to continue to make great content and great art for free. And if you are not telling your audience this and helping them understand that fact, that is a problem. You need to be able to break the fourth wall and say that to them. Thank you so much. Without you, audience, and without this sponsor, I would not be able to continue to do this. And closing that loop and helping people understand that is so important, because otherwise it just seems like you're trying to line your pocket. You're just working with this brand, make money. How much content do we generate in general as creators for free? Virtually the vast majority.
Yeah.
Right. The vast majority. So if 5%, 10%, 25%, maybe more of your content is sponsored, is that really that bad of a thing? I surely don't think so. In fact, if you want to continue to have the stamina to create for a long time period, you need to be able to have a economic engine behind your business that allows you to continue to not just survive, but thrive. And so feeling confident that, like, you know what, it's actually okay for me to do this is so critical, dude. And of course, if you get into a situation with a brand where they're asking you to do things that you're uncomfortable with, or asking you to regurgitate really robotic sounding talking points, again, it's your job now to, again, push back and say, actually, that is not a good idea. We should do this instead. So it just goes back to the re-education thing, I think, or be able to assess that before you even take the deal. And know that you shouldn't take the deal based on other data points. So, if you go and you see there's a bunch of really terrible reviews about this company, or you see friends of yours have worked with them and it was a nightmare, like maybe you shouldn't do it. Like you should, not ignore the red flags.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, that was tough love, but I took it, man.
It was tough love. I saw a single tear roll down your cheek, and I knew I hit home with that one.
Chris needs that once in a while.
Yeah.
He really does. So should I do rapid fire the remaining steps?
Let's do rapid fire. Yeah. I was going to move on, but there's, I feel like the wheel's broken at this point. We got to finish the
wheel's
spokes.
broken. because it won't spin otherwise. So, okay, so you produce it. You're an expert now. Feedback, again, very critical. Don't be a devo. Don't be a diva. Don't be difficult. If they ask you for a 5-second voiceover change, do the dang thing. Don't be a pain in the butt. Very, very important. And then publish. Again, Chris is about, hey, we know how to publish. Like, we do this all the time. Right? No, you don't. People are publishing the episode without the right tracking link, or the tracking link is there and it's not clickable. You can't actually click it in the description box of the YouTube video or something. You use the wrong promo code. I have some crazy stories in the book around, errors that we made back in the day. And then the final step is analyze. To your point, this is probably the most important step. In fact, I have a coaching client in my program, and his name is Molly, and she said the post-campaign report alone often compels brands to offer another deal, because they've never received anything like that before. The only thing that they've ever asked for creators for is basically screenshots, probably, of their Amazon Associates dashboard or their Instagram analytics or whatever. And the brand said, oh yeah, thanks, sounds good. But when you're the one sending them a report with not just the quantitative data that you're seeing, but the qualitative insights, hey, here's how I think the campaign went. Here's comments we got. Here's some private messages I got that there's no way you would have seen. And guess what? Here's actually some negative feedback that we got.
Oh,
and I'm not going to be shy to give you this, because I got 3 of these comments saying that the product was too expensive, or I got 3 of these comments that said, this other competitor is better. I actually think we should make the next integration about this, addressing this head on. Right? How powerful would that be? To do that as a creator. So it's a game changer.
Yeah, it's not just throwing, information to them and making them work on it. You're actually like, here's some ideas how I can help you. Kind of going back to our earlier conversation. Justin, we could go on for another 3 hours, but we are at time. But before we do that, we've got some great comments in here. My baby experts, who are big fans of Justin. Hey, Justin, great to see you here on Amazon Live. Joe, appreciate you bringing valuable conversations like this to the platform, Chris and Jim. Yes, Joe, my baby experts, you are welcome. And Joe just got the book. Going to pre-order.
Appreciate you, Joe. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, and then they've been doing brand deals for almost 15 years and have learned a lot from Justin. Hashtag the real deal. You got sound effects now, Joe.
Let's go. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, the book is Sponsor Magnet. Go to sponsormagnet.com. There's a sick amount of pre-order goodies that you get from this. Tons of bonuses that you get. You're going to get the first chapter. You're going to get 15 negotiation scripts. I did use one, believe it or not. And when I see you, Justin, I expect a high five.
Dude, it's coming. I'm going to give you a double high five, bro. And chest bump. So you boom, boom, and then chest bump. Yeah, let's do it.
Chest bump. Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, boy. We got to coordinate it, like choreograph it. Right. So we don't get injured because we're over 40. Actually, I'm not yet, but I don't want to injure you,
Oh, this is amazing. So, and then it's also available for pre-order on Amazon. You're going to, at this point, by the time you're watching it, it may already be there in terms of the hardcover paperback version, but certainly the Kindle is live as you see on your screen. Justin, man, I'm going to roll it back over to you to say some final words before we go. This has just been, I knew that it was going to be chock full of value, to use your words. It was all killer, no filler. But I want to thank you for taking the time. I know that this book, I can tell, was something you really poured yourself into. I can tell by after reading it, but I can also see it in your face. You have passion for it. You have a passion for this in general. And I just really appreciate you.
Dude, that really means a lot to me. Both of you guys. I mean, I just want to say my profound thanks to you guys because you had me on your show, a ways back. And, that really meant a lot to me at the time. I was kind of on the upswing and, no one really knew who I was. And there's just been so many people that have played such a profound role in my journey over the last couple of years trying to get this message out about sponsorships. And so I really appreciate both of you guys. What you do is so important and so valuable. If anyone was listening to this and feel as though, you know what, Justin might have changed my mind about sponsorships. Maybe I want to look into this. Sponsormagnet.com.
That's it. And if you guys have not subscribed to Justin's newsletter, it is absolutely... I subscribe to actually very few newsletters. I've had to opt out of a ton. And I always, Justin, love your newsletter. It has tons of value. And there's always here are 5 things that we just found. Now, not everything works for me, but that's okay. And to me, that's saying, hey, you're actually doing the work and putting in that value. And the only way you're going to be able to see these brand deals or these brands that are seeking influencers and seeking creators and seeking deliverables, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or YouTube video or whatever, just subscribing to that and getting that email for me was incredibly valuable. I've subscribed for years. If you can't afford the book at this point, I know you can afford a free email from Justin Moore. So, thanks to Tony, thanks to Joe, thanks to Jenny, and lots of people saying they're pre-ordering the book, man. So we're Marco, Jeff, C, all you folks that have joined us in the show, go to sponsormagnet.com, pre-order the book, and as always, don't fear the gear.
Thanks for listening to Dealcasters. Congratulations, you've taken another step forward in your content creation journey. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe or follow button here in your favorite podcast player so you can be reminded every time we drop an episode.
We love hearing from our listeners and viewers. And if you're wanting to watch our shows live on Amazon, feel free to follow Dealcasters Live as well at dealcasters.live. Follow us on Twitter
or subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we also included added content that you cannot find anywhere else.
If you have questions about this episode or have something you want us to review, you can also email us at dealcasters@dealcasters.live. Thanks again for listening, and you know the deal. Don't fear the gear.